So I make a lot of videos on this channel about the Panasonic S5, and it's for good reason, because it's easily one of the best cameras I've ever used for the work that I do, and I definitely think it should be a contender on anyone's wish list if you're in the market for an insanely capable photo and video camera under the £2,000 price point. However, this camera does still have its drawbacks, and in today's video I'll be talking about the 3 improvements that I'd absolutely love to see on the S5 that would literally make it untouchable by any other competing camera brand in this price point. And I know what you guys are thinking. You probably think I'm going to start off with the autofocus now, don't you? Well, you're wrong. I'm not actually going to talk about that at all in this video. Instead, the first thing I'm going to talk about is frame rate options. So I'm not really a picky guy by any means, and to be honest, I mainly only ever shoot 4K 25p with a tiny bit of 4K 50p chucked in there every now and then. I feel like I speak for most people when I say that 4K 24 or 25p is home, but for product shots or more stabilized B-roll, it is actually very nice to have some higher frame rate options as well. Now, of course, the Panasonic S5 does shoot up to 180p in S&Q mode, but if I'm being brutally honest, it's really not that great since the bitrate is tiny and the resolution is a very soft 1080p, making it stick out like a sore thumb amongst 4K footage. And while the 4K 50 is cropped, it's still what I prefer to use if I'm filming anything where a higher frame rate is needed. So this brings me on nicely to the first thing that I'd absolutely love to see in the Panasonic S5, and that is 4K 120p. And of course, I know that this is an obvious one, I know that a lot of people would like to see this, but here's the thing, I don't even care if that 4K 120 is an APS-C crop, and I don't even care if it's only 10-bit 420 and not 10-bit 422, but just having the option to shoot at 120p at a data rate of at least 100 megabits per second will be perfect for what I need it for, and definitely could be a turning point for a lot of people, since it would essentially bring the S5 one step closer to the A7S III in terms of its specs, but for a much lower price. By the way, just to quickly cut in here, I've noticed that a lot of people that watch my videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you do enjoy these videos and you've watched a few already but you're not subscribed, then please subscribe because it helps me out massively and I would genuinely appreciate it. Okay, so moving on to my next wish for the Panasonic S5, and that is to be able to adjust the audio gain to less than -12 decibels. So when I had the GH6 for a little while, I noticed that you could actually stop the gain all the way down to -18 dB, and that was a great thing to see since the onboard preamps inside Lumix cameras always tend to be quite hot. So that means that if you pair that with a mic that has, you know, let's say quite a high noise floor, then internal audio recording is an absolute disaster. And to be completely honest with you guys, I rarely do record internal camera audio with my S5, but it's definitely something that would be nice to do more often if I knew I had that extra bit of flexibility in camera. It's also worth noting that with this video, I've actually considered how doable it would be for Panasonic to implement these changes in the Panasonic S5. And therefore, the requests that I'm asking for are definitely not crazy. So before you jump down in the comment section and start saying things like how it'd be great to have a full-size HDMI port and phase detect autofocus, just realize that we'd only ever see changes like that on a Mark II version of this camera, and therefore would not be a realistic request to make for an already existing camera body that's already on the market. So everything that I'm asking for in this video can actually be added with a firmware update as long as the camera's processor is capable and the existing thermal management is already good enough. So therefore the likelihood of seeing these changes is a lot higher, and sort of makes this video a little bit more exciting, because if Panasonic were to watch this and make these changes, that would be awesome. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to my third and final wish for the Panasonic S5, and that is 5.9K internal recording, just like what we saw with the huge firmware update that came to the S1 a while ago. Now, the S1 can actually shoot 5.9K 10-bit 420 internally, and while you can only do that up to 30p, it would be absolutely awesome to see this added to the S5, even if there was a record time limit of, let's say, 15 minutes. For the majority of what I shoot, I rarely exceed 15 to 20 minutes at any given time per take, and I rarely shoot interviews or events, and most of what I do are sort of short social media videos for my clients where each clip rarely exceeds a minute before cutting to another scene. So therefore, being able to shoot 5.9K internally would mean a little bit more resolution when cropping, and would also give just a small sprinkle of flavour that may push people over the edge if they're on the fence about getting the Panasonic S5. And since the S5 does feature a 6K capable sensor and is already able to output 6K RAW via HDMI, I really can't see this one being a massive struggle to add to the camera either. The only question I would have is whether the body is too small and therefore will get too hot if you were to try and extrapolate a 5.9K image internally. And I know that I'm not a camera engineer, and I don't know how possible it would be to see this in the S5, but from what I've seen Panasonic do in the past with their firmware updates, this definitely doesn't feel too impossible to implement. So, as a quick recap on my 3 wishes for the Panasonic S5, they are 4K 120, even if it's with an APS-C crop, the ability to turn the audio gain down to minus 18 decibels, just like we've seen on the new GH6, and the ability to record 5.9K video internally with a rather realistic record time limit of 15 minutes. To me, these feel like pretty achievable changes, and although I know that some people would much rather see the record time limits removed in the S5 and also the crop in 4K 50 removed, I don't really care about that sort of stuff since it really affects the way that I shoot, so therefore it's not really a huge deal to me. Anyway, if you do agree with me and think that these 3 things would be great to see on the Panasonic S5, then please let me know down in the comments. And if there's any other realistic requests that you would have for the S5, then also leave them down there as well. The keyword there, by the way, being realistic, so please don't comment on this video about how you want to see internal NDs and 6K 120 and face detect AF, because let's be brutally honest, that is never going to happen. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it somewhat useful, entertaining, or interesting, and if you did, then please subscribe to the channel, because I do make a lot of content here surrounding the Panasonic S5, the S series, and the L1 ecosystem in general. So if that's your sort of thing, then this channel will definitely be for you. And yeah, hopefully I shall see you in the next one. Thank you.